So, welcome back to another video on my channel, guys, or rather, the first video in a while, to be honest. And this is going to be something new, something different for me, because normally on the Monday evening after a race, I kind of do small clips and I save them and send them out to specific people, or put them up on my story normally. And I found that that's actually quite inefficient. So I figured I will try to do a bit of live commentary for the first time and do a little highlights from the race on Monday evening. And hopefully that'll improve the experience for you guys a little bit. And hopefully it'll be a little bit better, and I figured it's just better that way. That way I can get everything kind of in one video. And, well, fair to say, it was a pretty action-packed race on Monday evening. If you guys missed it, then do make sure to check it out on the Invictus channel. We had Gareth and Sab commentating it for us, as usual. And yeah, didn't start off great for me, as you'll see in a little bit, or as probably some of you guys know. And yeah, it was definitely not an easy one. Probably one of my hardest races this season, I'll say. Yeah. China's a tricky track, and it's tricky to hook stuff up here, especially in the race. The qualifying laps, they're all right. I get pretty nervous, to be honest, when I'm doing my quali laps. It's always quite difficult for me to get on the pace for a one-lap blast and really kind of, well, drive straight away at my limit and show you guys exactly what that is right away. Yeah, that's quite difficult for me. And as you'll see now, from my fastest qualifying lap, this was my third run, final run of the qualifying session. My second one is normally my quickest, but at China it was just a bit messy. I missed a few apexes and couldn't quite get it hooked up. But as you'll see here, this lap it's by no means perfect, but it was the quickest of the evening for me here. So we're just heading through the turn 1 complex. As you can see, slightly missing the apex there. Could have been slightly more time gained there, and that affects the next corner, of course, as well. I'm trying to stay to the inside of the racing line there to get on the power as early as I can. And if you look at the top right of the screen, you can see my delta. I've already gained a 10th on my best lap, which is a 1:29.2. It was my banker. I invalidated my second run, so I couldn't improve on it. And already to be a 10th up on that is pretty good, considering that's currently got me in 4th position. Just heading through the fast left right-hander in the middle sector, slightly missing the apex there, so losing me some more time. I'm heading through the fast double left-hander there. Quite nice, quite satisfying to get it hooked up there nicely, which I managed to do without going wide and invalidating my lap. This corner is really tricky. The car likes to just step out, the rear end likes to step out and really spin on you if you're not careful. So I do upshift to third there to help the traction, and just doing turn 13 there, I upshifted to 4th before there and got on the power as early as I could. So we're heading down the back straight now. DRS open, reaching around about 207 miles an hour there, just before the braking zone into the hairpin, locking up a tiny bit, but it's fine. It doesn't actually lose me that much time. In fact, I gained time there, and just heading through the final corner here, slightly missing the apex. Would have liked to take that a little bit better, a little bit hairy on the throttle and the traction, but nonetheless, a 1:28.951 there for me, and as you can hear from my frustration, I was really, really close to B-stats. I think about 600th there, 600ths, rather, got something out there in the end. And yeah, I got pretty close to him, so a little bit frustrated, because I think if I would have hit those apexes a little bit better, I probably could have managed second there. But yeah, ultimately didn't really matter that much from what happened in the race, as you'll see later. So currently finding myself in third, ahead of my teammate. This is a really good qualifying session for us both. Normally, it's not going this well, to say the least. Normally we're quite far apart, and it's quite rare that we both kind of get a lap hooked up. I know Nathan sometimes struggles with track limits, and they are quite misleading sometimes at some tracks. They're not always the same. Some tracks they're pretty strict, some tracks they're not so strict, and I struggle with the track limits as well. I struggled in my second run here as well, actually, in validating my lap, so yeah, and I'm sure many others struggled as well. Beastas ahead of me crashed out on his last run, I believe, so yeah. Like I said, a tricky lap to hook up around here. And now, just about halfway through my formation lap, as you can see by the tyre graphic there, just briefly, tyres are already pretty worn, so they're around about 14%, wear, at least the front left. The front left wears the heaviest around here because there's a lot of right-handers around China. And that already means that, well, my tyres are fairly worn. And that means that, well, if I want to pit onto the hards, then I'm going to have to be pretty careful towards the end here. So I'm just trying to get my tyres warmed up. We're coming onto the back straight now. I think we'll just cut to the start here momentarily. And the 5 lights going out. So just getting ready for the grid. Did a few burnouts before I came to the grid here, just to warm up those rear tyres. And we're going to see what I can do at China from the start. So we have 5 lights ahead of us, and it is lights out, and away we go. I get a pretty average start, and Nathan, my teammate, gets a brilliant start, and he's already side by side with B-Stas into turn 1. So they're going to be fighting it out for the first turn. I'm paying attention a little bit, probably too much to their battle, not so much to myself, and I open up the space on the inside. Bandobiz takes that, and we're battling through the first turn. A little bit of contact there, so not the cleanest of battles from us two, but ultimately I just get ahead of him. That was really important from me. I didn't want to get out of touch from B-Stas or Nathan, and B-Stas, well, Nathan got ahead of him briefly, but B-Stas is right down his inside. As you can see, I'm losing the grip out of the turn there because my tyres are so cold at the start. So again, struggling with grip, and they're already won. I can see Nathan and B-Stas banging wheels ahead of me, so I know this might not end well. I'm thinking, well, let's close up the gap. Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can pick up a few positions on the exit here. And Nathan gets slightly out of shape. I hit the back of Nathan, and it's yellow front wing damage from me. You can hear the frustration in my voice there live on the evening, and I don't know why I used mate there. I think normally I have a friend in my party, and normally, yeah, that's why I say mate there. Kind of frustration to hit him almost there. And nonetheless, we cut to the end of lap 2 now, where I go in to pit for repairs. I decided to stay out for a lap and kind of weather the damage and see how bad it would actually be. And turns out it was pretty awful. And I was losing a lot of time. I had to lift a disgusting amount through some of the turns there, and especially through the middle sector there. So it was just not really worth stretching that out. Even a few laps to lap 6, I would have lost too much time. I figure, you know what? Let's go into the pits. Let's swap out the front wing. Jeff said medium, medium. I figured, yeah, probably my best chance, to be honest. Bit too early for hards right now. And, I mean, if I was to put them on, they'd definitely probably go flat at the end of the race. And that's what happened last time around in France. So I was really trying to avoid that today here. And I figured, yeah, medium soft was perhaps a little bit too optimistic. So this was probably my best chance towards the end of the race to pick up any points there. It's get a bit hairy on the throttle coming out. And I mean, if there's one disheartening sight, it's just seeing myself fall right to stone dead last there. And I'm 22 seconds behind the car ahead of me. So it's going to be one hell of a feat if I'm going to make all of this time back to him. And it's going to be pretty difficult to do. But I was definitely in the mood for a comeback at the time. And I was really not going to give up tonight. And I wanted to get some points. Definitely hungry for some points today, especially after such promising qualifying. So we cut to lap 6. Scopefielder pitted just the lap before here, I believe. And this is my first move of the race, I think, on him. Just turning off the overtake nice and early there. Using the DRS, I'm trying to preserve my overtake and my fuel as much as I can, because I know I'll need it towards the end of the race. But making a nice move down the inside. Nothing too difficult. Not much of a battle there from Scopefielder, so quite a nice move there from me. And then just trying to really make the most of these tyres. And from here on out, it was a little bit lonely, apart from this one, not incident, but this one overtake I had on Rudy, which I caught up to him eventually. I was putting the pressure on him on the medium tyres. He's on the hards, and he was trying to keep me behind, so he was probably trying to stay on the pace, and he gets on the throttle a little bit too early at turn 13, and he's spun out completely almost into the wall there. So just a testimony to how difficult China really is around here. And the hard tyres, they last a long time, but they don't always grip the best, and that's just really the testimony to that. He just lost it. And a free move for me, a bit unfortunate for him, I think, and I think he'll go to retire actually at the end of this lap here, so a bit of a shame for him tonight. But it is what it is, I guess. And then we cut to lap 15. Bit of a lonely middle stint, to be honest. Not really much happening. I managed to pull a nice gap to Bandobiz behind me, about 9 seconds. My pit window is supposed to be about lap 14, lap 18 for the second pit stop, because you can't stretch the remainder of the race with a pit stop that early on just one set of mediums. But I decided to stay out for one lap, use up a little bit of my battery. As you can see from the bottom right of my screen, my battery is a little bit lower than it probably should be at this point in time, but I knew I'll regain it in the pit lane. And as I drift there, just to say my final goodbye to the set of tyres. And my plan was to just make the most of the in-lap and negate the time loss I make from it. And, well, the game predicted that I would come out and stone dead last the lap before if I was to pit then. But after that in-lap, we'll see where we come out. Putting on that fresh medium rubber here, we're coming to the exit. You could see the Ferrari just behind me. We're going to see where we come out, and it's just ahead of him. Not by much, but that made a difference. If I had to make an extra move there and, you know, stick behind him for a lap or so in the dirty air, that would have really, really hindered my performance tonight, to be honest. So that really meant a lot. And I have plenty of clean air to crack on and or bridge the gap to TL44S, which is currently at 5 seconds. Pay attention to that gap as we'll cut to to the end of the lap rather, and that gap's already gone down to 3.5, 3.4 seconds there. And we're only at the end of lap 16. This was my pit lap, and I set a purple sector 2 and 3, so I know I have the pace for a fastest lap, and this is in fact the fastest lap of my race, not the fastest lap of the race. I think Stinson managed to steal that away from me towards the end there. But pay attention to that gap to TL44S as well, because that will start coming down quite heavily as we finish off this lap and towards the next one as well, of course. And yeah, we're going to stay on board for this whole lap, I think. Just trying to hook it up through the first sector, really. We've gone green, which is, well, pretty good. And I went purple in sector 2 and 3, and then I went green in sector 2 and 3 as well, as you'll see. I'm going through sector 2 now. I'm actually hooking it up nicer to the apex than I was in qualifying, so yeah, good to see that, to be honest, and on the medium tyre as well. But yeah, I knew that if I got green, I've improved on my sector time, so that means that, well, I've improved on, in theory, the purple sector time I set before. So it's looking pretty good so far. Heading through the final turn onto the back straight, using up that overtake because I am going for this fastest lap. As you can see, I'm not exactly, well, running high on either my ERS or my fuel at this point in the race, and I've got 10 laps left, so I mean, if it was just to carry on like it is here, then probably wouldn't have gone too well for me, to be honest. And just there, hooking up the apex and the hairpin quite nicely at the back straight, end of the back straight, and through the final turn again, hooking it up nicer than I was in qualifying. Slightly on the green stuff there, so slightly unstable on the traction, but it's a 1:32.9, and it's the fastest lap of the race. And at this point, I am, well, sweating quite profusely, as I'm just trying to claim whatever points I can and salvage whatever I can out of this race. And you can see the gap to TL44S at the start of this lap was 1.2 seconds, and now it's under a second. So if things stay as they are, I'm already within his DRS zone. So it's looking very, very good at this stage in the race. And it's not exactly like he was losing time on scope filter either. He was gaining time on scope filter. So I'm relatively quicker than all the guys around me. So now we cut to just a little bit later, me overtaking TL44S, not even using any overtake, just rich mix and the DRS really. He doesn't make it too difficult for me, and I move up the inside nicely from there. But currently running low on things, and I mean, it's not looking great towards the end of the race, to be honest. And now I'm just getting onto the back of scope fielder, getting quite close to him. Pay attention to the bottom left, the track map, and the red car right at the back of the grid. He goes completely off the track, loses it, and crashes, straight away retires, as you can see by the bottom of the screen. There's a yellow flag. I think, well, this could actually be something here, and it indeed is something. It's a safety car. And, I mean, I say I'm going to box this lap. I even switched to soft tyres, but as you can see, they're going to be used softs, which are used in qualifying, which means they're already pretty worn. My mediums I've only done about 4 laps on. So I figured, well, let's be a bit braver this time around, and let's do something I wouldn't normally do. And let's stay out on these mediums for track position. And that's exactly what I did here. And I've overtaken a few guys in the pit lane now, and a few guys are yet to pit at the end of this lap as well. And we've got one more lap onto the safety car as well. So it's looking good in terms of track position. And I take advantage of those penalties as well at the front end of the grid towards the end as well. And you'll see them come through about now, just as we're finishing off the safety car here. So I'm right up next to my teammate once again in 4th position, Nathan. He's on fresh medium, so is B-Stas. So I know they've got slightly less wear on that medium rubber. I'm just trying to stay with them as much as I can, keep my tyres warm, as you can see by the temperature graphic there in the bottom right, and I want to get as good of a launch as I can. I don't want to bog down, so I'm watching Stinson ideally because he's the new safety car really, and he's absolutely bolted it down the straight. So am I. I've got Harry and Bandobiz all over me. They're both on soft tyres, so I'm worried about that. Beastas and my teammate battling, and they tangle, and my teammate's gone completely off there on the left side of the track, off to Narnia, to be honest. He's completely gone off the standings in the top left of my screen, and I'm now battling Beastas for position. This man, I mean, Beastas definitely knows how to put up a fight, I can tell you that much for sure, and he's really trying to make the most of this here. I brake slightly earlier into the stern, which probably was my mistake. He dives down the outside. I lock up a little bit. I'm trying to leave him as much room as I can, and he ultimately takes the position there. I wasn't too fussed on fighting that, and then Harry, with his overtake on ERS, just dives down my inside there into the left-hander on the soft tyres. Wasn't really expecting that, but at the same time, I wasn't really looking on fighting that too much because, of course, I know that he's on that soft rubber. I just need to really stay with him, stay within his DRS, and make the most of this towards the end of the race, really. And as we'll see a little bit later, I kind of make the same mistake. Of course, I'm on the medium rubber, so I'm trying to defend from the soft runner behind, and I'm running low again on ERS, so it's not looking too good for me. But again, pay attention to the track map in the bottom left. You'll see the other grey car of my teammate. He goes completely straight off, spearing off at the last turn there, and he's retired. Contact with the wall, straight away retired, and Bandobiz is all over the back of me, and the game, absolute godsend, decides to deploy a virtual safety car there, which saves me, to be honest. I put my engine straight away into lean mix, although I still have plenty of fuel, just purely for the engine temperature there. And that was brilliant for me because I could recharge a little bit, you know, recharge my fuel a little bit there as well, as you can see. And now I have a little bit more to use up as that virtual safety car ends. And now we've got Bandobiz all over the back of me. He's on the soft tyres, and, well, he's lagging a little bit. I don't know exactly where he is. I want to fight this a tiny bit because it is, of course, full track position, and now we're coming to the closing stages of the race. I leave the space on the outside for him there, and I just get really, really awful traction out of the turn, so he unfortunately takes that position. And, well, to be fair to him, he was on fresh soft rubber, so I don't know what I was really expecting here. Now we're cutting to lap 26 with Hercules on my back as well. He's on that soft tyre, and I didn't actually see this 3-second penalty he had at the start, so I thought we were fighting for track position. I defend it quite heavily, but if I'd known about that 3-second penalty he had, perhaps I would have been a little bit easier on him. I braked very, very late into the hairpin to try and defend from him, almost going into the back of Bandobiz and locking up very, very hard, making slight contact with Hercules there, but he gets past me nice and easily. Of course, fresh soft rubber will always beat my medium rubber at the end of the race. And, well, the Renaults, they actually tried to run on the mediums in qualifying because I think they wanted to start on that alternate strategy. So they had completely fresh softs to use here at this stage in the race, which is really advantageous to them. They really didn't have to worry about anything. My softs would have been used, and a qualifying lap, it's surprising how much a one-lap burst really just destroys your soft tyres there to the end. And at this point in time, I have no clue about the penalty situation up ahead of me. When I was fighting Beastas, I think there actually, if I'd looked up at my timing screen, I would have seen it. But I think all of the top three, I believe Stinson, I believe Beastas, and I'm not sure about Harry actually. I think Cliffy, just behind Harry actually, they all have 5-second penalties because they got collided with each other on the safety car restart, which the game really doesn't like. So they've all got penalties. I think Stinson is probably want to get his penalty rescinded and removed at the end of the race, and I'm sure he probably already has as of speaking right now, so the standings would have changed. But if I perhaps would have been a little bit kinder to Hercules and, you know, kind of let him through slightly easier, it would have benefited me here because I would have taken advantage of those penalties a little more. And as you'll see at the end of the race, it was quite close. Not as close as you'd think, but it was pretty close in the standings there, in the finishing standings. I'm using up all of my batteries, you can see in the bottom right, 0% there. So I'm absolutely mashing that overtake button, trying to really make the most of it. And as we're just going to come through the final turn here, I'm just trying to keep it all together, and I almost don't, as I lose the car actually, just about keeping it under control. And I finish, and I'm pushed up to 4th position, just behind Stinson there in 3rd place, and the gap to him was a second, and a second is probably been a bit too much to close, to be honest. At the end there, even if I'd left Hercules, you know, the space and let him through quite nicely there, it would have still probably been too much. And yeah, just missing out slightly on that podium. Of course, tasting that champagne, even if it wasn't permanent, would have been wonderful, and it would have made the comeback drive even better, but nonetheless, I was pretty satisfied with that drive into 4th position. Now, as always, ladies and gents, if you do enjoy it this evening, do make sure to leave a like on the video. I'll try to do some more highlights reels for the final few races of the season. If time permits for next season as well, I'll try to do them if you guys enjoy. Of course, I hope this will be a bit more enjoyable than the usual for you guys. And yeah, a crazy perspective for a crazy race there. So P4, pretty happy with it. And I'll see you guys hopefully next week.